Gildan Media, a division of Recorded Books, presents Essentials of Inventory Management, 3rd edition, by Max Muller, narrated by Tait. Introduction to the 3rd edition. When I wrote the 1st and 2nd editions of Essentials of Inventory Management, my objectives were to present, in accessible language supported by copious illustrations and examples, timeless inventory management concepts and techniques. My purpose was and is to give the reader a fundamental understanding of inventory as it exists in the physical world, or shelf count, and as an intangible item, or record count, existing in a computer database and/or on paper. The basic principles covered in those editions are as relevant today, even with the explosion of internet-based e-commerce solutions to many inventory and materials management issues, as when they were first written. And I continue to receive excellent responses from individuals just beginning their careers in fields related to inventory management, as well as from experienced materials managers who report that the book reminded them of effective techniques they had known, but forgotten. Over the past several years, as I have continued to lecture and consult, it became apparent that the book could be enhanced by adding chapters and sections on subjects such as distribution network planning, transportation network design options, purchasing inventory considerations, and handling inventory safely. And so, this 3rd edition was born. This 3rd edition retains the timeless, essential inventory management basics that are the hallmarks of the 1st and 2nd editions, with new and expanded information that includes an expansion of Chapter 3, Physical Location and Control of Inventory, to include sections dealing with inventory distribution considerations, including, but not limited to, inventory transportation network design options, and where inventory distribution points should be located, including charts and basic formulas to help determine optimal distribution center locations. An expansion of Chapter 4, Automated Identification, with an explanation of 2D barcode symbologies. A new, and important, Chapter 7, Core Purchasing Inventory Considerations, that provides valuable purchasing guidance and detailed checklists related to the formation of sales agreements for purchasing goods, statutes of fraud, Uniform Commercial Code contract gap filler provisions, warranties, contract modification principles, and buyers' and sellers' rights and remedies related to breaches in performance or payment. A new Chapter 9, Handling Inventory Safely, provides critical guidance on occupational safety and health administration regulations related to an employer's general safety duties toward its employees, and reporting requirements in the event of a fatality or significant injuries. Included is specific information regarding mandatory training requirements for powered industrial truck operators. In addition, this new chapter delves into important ergonomic do's and don'ts for anyone manually handling inventory. The chapter also features sample forklift inspection sheets. And of course, as it has since the 1st edition and through the 2nd edition, the book introduces the new stockroom/warehouse manager, the non-financial inventory control individual, and the small business owner to the fundamental nature of inventory from financial, physical, forecasting, and operational standpoints. It explains in easily understandable terms the concepts underlying automated identification of product through both barcoding and RFID. And now, it provides important purchasing concepts in an easily comprehensible manner, as well as significant guidance on keeping employees safe. The goal of this book is to present immediately usable information in the areas of forecasting, physical control and layout, problem recognition and resolution, and purchasing, as well as how to better manage a supply chain. Ultimately, Essentials of Inventory Management will enable you to understand that modern practice discourages holding large quantities of inventory and encourages only having amounts on hand required for current needs. Employ purchasing techniques and principles with which to get better deals and protect your organization's interests. grasp the significance of controlling actual on-hand inventory as both a physical object, or shelf count, and as an intangible object, or record count and monetary worth. Appreciate the fundamental differences between finished goods inventories in the retail and distribution sectors and raw materials and work-in-process inventories found in the manufacturing environment. Apply basic formulae to calculating inventory quantities. Utilize basic formulae to compute break-even points, profit margins, markups and markdowns, as well as selling price and margin percentages. Select the cycle counting inventory method that is right for you. Undertake an ABC cycle counting analysis by combining multiple factors. Recognize and analyze dysfunctions within your own operation. Employ basic problem-solving techniques to issue resolution. Control the physical location and distribution of inventory in a more efficient manner. Analyze whether or not RFID is right for your organization. Be aware of supply chain management risks and possible solutions. And protect the health and safety of employees in compliance with federal and state regulations. Chapter 1. Inventory is both a tangible and an intangible object. The objective of this chapter is to provide you with a basic understanding of the nature of inventory as both a tangible, physical item actually kept within the facility, real life or shelf count, and as an intangible item existing within the company's records, paper life or record count. Since you frequently make purchasing, sales, customer service, production planning, and other decisions based on whether an item is shown as being in-house as per your records, an item's paper life can be just as important as its real life. Inventory. Who needs it? All organizations keep inventory. Inventory includes a company's raw materials, work in process, supplies used in operations, and finished goods. Inventory can be as simple as a bottle of glass cleaner used as part of a building's custodial program, or as complex as a mix of raw materials and sub-assemblies used as part of a manufacturing process. Inventory costs. Inventory brings with it a number of costs, including dollars, space, labor to receive, check quality, put away, retrieve, select, pack, ship, and account for the item or items. Deterioration, damage, and obsolescence. Theft. Inventory costs generally fall into ordering costs and holding costs. Ordering or acquisition costs come about regardless of the actual value of the goods. These costs include the salaries of those purchasing the product, costs of expediting the inventory, and so on. For a complete discussion of ordering costs, see Chapter 5, Planning and Replenishment Concepts. For a complete discussion of carrying costs, see Chapter 2, Inventory as Money. As discussed in Chapter 2, holding costs include the cost of capital tied up in inventory, or the opportunity cost of money, storage costs, such as rent, and costs of handling the product, such as equipment, warehouse and stock-keeping staff, stock losses or wastage, taxes, and so on. As discussed in Chapter 5, acquisition/ordering costs come about regardless of the actual value of the goods. These costs include the salaries of those purchasing the product, costs of expediting the inventory, and so on. The purpose of inventory. So, why do you need inventory? In a just-in-time manufacturing environment, inventory is considered waste. However, in environments where an organization suffers from poor cash flow or lacks strong control over 1. Electronic information transfer among all departments and all significant suppliers, 2. Lead times, and 3. Quality of materials received, inventory plays important roles. Some of the more important reasons for obtaining and holding inventory are predictability. To engage in capacity planning and production scheduling, you need to control how much raw material and how many parts and subassemblies you process at a given time. Inventory buffers what you need from what you process. Fluctuations in demand. A supply of inventory on hand is protection. You don't always know how much you are likely to need at any given time, but you still need to satisfy customer or production demand on time. If you can see how customers are acting in the supply chain, surprises and fluctuations in demand are held to a minimum. Unreliability of supply. Inventory protects you from unreliable suppliers, or when an item is scarce and a steady supply is difficult to ensure. Whenever possible, unreliable suppliers should be rehabilitated through discussions or replaced. Rehabilitation can be accomplished through master purchase orders with timed product releases, price or term penalties for non-performance, better verbal and electronic communications between the parties, and so on. This will lower your on-hand inventory needs. Price protection. Buying quantities of inventory at appropriate times helps avoid the impact of cost inflation. Note that contracting to assure a price does not require actually taking delivery at the time of purchase. Many suppliers prefer to deliver periodically, rather than to ship an entire year's supply of a particular stock-keeping unit, or SKU, at one time. Note, the acronym SKU is a common term in the inventory world. It generally stands for a specific numeric or alphanumeric identifier for a specific item. Quantity discounts. Often bulk discounts are available if you buy in large rather than in small quantities. Lower ordering costs. If you buy a larger quantity of an item less frequently, the ordering costs are less than buying smaller quantities over and over again. The costs of holding the item for a longer period of time, however, will be greater. See Chapter 5, Planning and Replenishment Concepts. To hold down ordering costs and to lock in favorable pricing, many organizations issue blanket purchase orders, coupled with periodic release and receiving dates of the SKUs. Types of stock. Inventory is basically divided into raw materials, finished goods, and work in process. Remember, raw materials, used to purchase partial products or completed goods. Finished product. This is product ready for current customer sales. It can also be used to buffer manufacturing from predictable or unpredictable market demand. In other words, a manufacturing company can make up a supply of toys during the year for predictably higher sales during the holiday season. Work in process, or WIP. Items are considered to be WIP during the time raw material is being converted into partial product, subassemblies, and finished product. WIP should be kept to a minimum. WIP occurs because of such things as work delays, long movement times between operations, and queuing bottlenecks. Other categories of inventory should be considered from a functional standpoint. Consumables, light bulbs, hand towels, computer and photocopying paper, brochures, tape, envelopes, cleaning materials, lubricants, fertilizer, paint, dunnage, or packaging materials, and so on, are used in many operations. These are often treated like raw materials. Service, repair, replacement, and spare items, or S&R items. These are aftermarket items used to keep things going. As long as a machine or device of some type is being used in the market and will need service and repair in the future, it will never be obsolete. S&R items should not be treated like finished goods for purposes of forecasting the quantity level of your normal stock. Quantity levels of S&R items will be based on such considerations as preventive maintenance schedules, predicted failure rates, and dates of various items of equipment. For example, if an organization replaced its fluorescent tubes on an as-needed, on-failure basis, it would need a larger supply of these lights on hand at all times. However, if the same company relamped all of its ballasts once a year, it would buy a large quantity of tubes at one time, and only keep a small supply on hand on an ongoing basis. Because S&R items are never obsolete or dead until the equipment or device they are to be used for is no longer in service, these items should not be included in calculating dead stock levels. See Chapter 2. Buffer or safety inventory. This type of inventory can serve various purposes, such as compensating for demand and supply uncertainties, decoupling and separating different parts of your operation so that they can function independently from one another. Anticipation stock. This is inventory produced in anticipation of an upcoming season, such as fancy chocolates for Mother's Day or Valentine's Day. Failure to sell in the anticipated period could be disastrous, because you may be left with considerable amounts of stock past its perceived shelf life. Transit inventory. This is inventory en route from one place to another. It could be argued that product moving within a facility is transit inventory, but the common meaning refers to items moving within the distribution channel toward you, items outside of your facility, or items en route from your facility to the customer. Transit stock highlights the need to understand not only how inventory physically moves through your system, but also how and when it shows up in your records. If, for example, 500 widgets appeared as part of existing stock while they were still en route to you, your record count would include them, but your shelf count would be 500 widgets short. How could stock show up as part of inventory before it actually arrives? The answer depends on when title to the widgets transferred to you. Did title transfer when the product left the shipper's dock, or did it transfer only after the items arrived at your site and were signed for? If title transferred when the product left the shipper's dock, it was then counted as part of your total inventory. As a result, your total record count would not match your shelf count. For example, if A, a stockkeeper did not understand that an item's paper life had floated ahead of its real life, and B, the stockkeeper did not have a breakdown of items on hand, on order, in transit, and immediately available, C, the stockkeeper would find a mismatch between the shelf and record counts. Inappropriate adjustments might then be made. The Uniform Commercial Code, or UCC, governs the transfer of title to product. The UCC has been adopted by most states. Article 2 of the UCC covers the sale of goods. Tracking the paper life. To gain an understanding of the relationship between an item's real life and its paper life, follow a single item on its path through your system. In other words, track an item's physical movement through your facility while noting what is happening to its paper life during that same time period. You will be able to discover when one of those lives moves ahead of the other, and when there are system errors, such as when an item is moved, but no paperwork exists authorizing that action. An item's real life and paper life can leapfrog around one another. It is important to understand that these lives can exist independently of one another. To comprehend your own system, you must trace how both product and information move through the system. Real life and paper life leapfrog. Car Enterprises operates 6 days per week, Monday through Saturday. It has an inventory system that is updated at 4:45 p.m. every day. In spite of the daily updating, the record count and the shelf count in small stockroom number 1 are often out of balance. Car's warehouse manager, Tait, has decided to count everything in small stockroom number 1 every Friday. He does so for 2 months. At the end of that time, he is angry. The numbers still don't match. Carr hires Sean, an ace inventory detective, to help track down the source of the problem. Nate is flabbergasted. He believes he is counting very carefully, and if there is a problem, it is with the computer. Nate declares to anyone who will listen that the computer is always wrong. On Monday at 5:15 p.m., Sean suggests that they examine an item that seems to be out of balance from the previous week's count. Nate declares, "I'll show you one," thrusting a brand new inventory stock status report in front of Sean's nose. Nate states, "Look at these widgets. It says there are 12 of them in stock. When we counted them last week, there were 12 of them. I looked at this report this morning and it said there were 13 of them. Now it says there are 12 of them, but I just looked in the stock room and there are actually 15 of them. See, I told you, the computer's always wrong." Sean asks if he can see Nate's count sheet with the widgets on it from the previous week. Sean asks what the notations mean. Nate replies that when the wrong quantity was on the count sheet, he would exit out, write in the correct quantity, and turn the sheet into data entry. Sean asked when Nate turned his sheets in. Nate replied, "Friday. Why?" Sean said, "I understand that you turn the sheets in on Friday. I'm asking, what time do you turn them in?" Nate says he does it at about 5 p.m. Thinking Sean is criticizing him, Nate defensively states, "Hey, they're busy in data entry from 4:30 or so. They're doing cutoff and updates and stuff like that. So I wait until they're done." Sean asks when Nate's count sheets are keyed into the system. Nate says he doesn't know. Sean asks Hillary, the data entry clerk, when Nate's sheets are keyed in. Hillary replies that she doesn't put Nate's work on the front burner, if you know what I mean. Sean persists. He asks again, who keys Nate's count sheets in, and when are they done? Hillary replies that she works on Saturday, but leaves the sheets for Carolyn, the other data entry clerk, to input on Monday. Sean asks Hillary if she entered any widgets into the system on Saturday. She says she entered 3 of them into the system on Saturday. Sean asks Carolyn how she handles inputting Nate's information. She replies that she pulls up the item on her computer screen, checks to see if the total in the computer matches Nate's handwritten amount, and if it doesn't, she changes the amount in the system to match Nate's number. Sean charts out the flow of real life and paper life for the widgets. Tracking the paper life. Instructions. At each stage of a flowchart, note 1. Where is the item physically? 2. What pieces of paper or papers authorize that? 3. When is information entered into your computer system? 4. Who is supposed to write something down? What are they supposed to write down? When were they supposed to write it down? Who are they supposed to give the piece of paper to? What is that person supposed to do with it? When are they supposed to pass the piece of paper along? 5. Does any item change its unit of measure within the system even though it retains the same physical form? For example, item X is purchased by the master case. When it is entered into the database, a conversion table converts each case into the 4 cartons within the master case. However, for ease of handling, the cartons remain in the master case for storage. Visually, this item appears as a single unit, while it will be sold or used as 4 separate items. 6. After the paper chase, where is the item physically? Electronic data interchange. Stockkeepers who do not understand how and when an item's paper life is first created within a system become even more confused if there is no hard paper copy audit trail they can follow. How could an order be placed, an order be accepted, confirmation of the order be given, shipping instructions be given, notice of shipping arrangements be given, or a paper life be created for an item in advance of it entering the facility? all occur without any hard paper copies of these transactions. All of these events, and others, can occur in a paperless environment through electronic data interchange. Electronic data interchange, or EDI, is where routine business transactions are sent over standard communication lines, such as telephone lines, between computers within a company, or between your computer and that of a vendor. An example of EDI within a company occurs at the time of order entry, when information about that order is electronically transmitted to shipping or operations for order selection and shipping, to accounting for billing purposes, to sales for order verification, and so on. An example of EDI with a vendor occurs when you electronically place an order directly from your computer into the vendor's computer. The vendor's computer then electronically confirms the order and transmits information about the order to the vendor's shipping and accounting departments. The vendor's computer also electronically notifies a carrier of the upcoming shipment. The carrier's computer electronically confirms the pickup and provides the vendor with pickup and delivery information. The vendor's computer then notifies your computer of the date, time, etc. of the upcoming delivery. All of this is accomplished without any human intervention other than the original placement of the order. For EDI to work, all of the system participants must agree to strict rules regarding message content, format, and structure. Recap. The objective of this chapter was to point out that inventory exists within your system as both a physical item and as an item in your records. There are many reasons for obtaining and holding inventory, and inventory can play a variety of roles within the life of any organization. To control and manage the items coming into, through, and out of your facility, it is important to understand not only where an item is physically located at any given time, but also how that existence is being acknowledged within the system. Review questions. 1. Inventory costs generally fall into A. Sales expenditures, B. Work in process, C. Line during the annual physical inventory, or D. Ordering costs and holding costs. The correct answer is D. Ordering costs and holding costs. 2. True or false? EDI is when routine business transactions are sent over standard communication lines. The correct answer is true. 3. True or false? Service and repair stock must never be retained beyond 5 years from date of purchase. The correct answer is false. 4. True or false? Anticipation stock is inventory en route from one place to another. The correct answer is false. 5. Which article of the Uniform Commercial Code governs the sale of goods? A. 9, B. 1, C. 2, or D. 117? The correct answer is C. 2. Chapter 2. Inventory as money. Why should you care about the financial aspects of inventory? Because inventory is money. Even if you do not have a financial background, it is important to understand and appreciate that inventory information in financial statements can be useful in the operation of your business. A basic understanding of how inventory appears on the balance sheet and its impact on the income statement and cash flow statement will improve your ability to have the right item in the right quantity, in the right place, at the right time. Accounting for inventories. The 3 basic types of inventory are 1. Raw materials. Raw materials inventory is made up of goods that will be used in the production of finished products. For example, nuts, bolts, flour, sugar. 2. Work in process. Work in Process Inventory, or WIP, consists of materials entered into the production process.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?